I'm waiting for the bits. I see some bits, but not all bits. I prefer to wait for all of them. And boom! And we're live. I was thinking about maybe going live and then waiting for people to come into the chat and just start posting the boom emoji before I do the boom. Make them wait for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I like to start off the show with some energy, so I'm not sure that would work. Let's see here.
You got to build that anticipation. There you go.
Touché. That movie was recently on sale, actually. Do you even know what that reference is from?
Rocky Horror Picture Show, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm impressed that you know that. A lot of people have never heard of that movie. That was recently on sale on iTunes for $5. I almost bought it.
It's you can also get it for free if you sail the high seas.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking the other day that movie streaming services are getting so expensive that at this point it's actually almost becoming cheaper just to buy your movies, because iTunes has sales on movies. I mean, this is assuming that you're not like out there on Pirate Bay or something. But if you wait, they have $5 movie sales, and eventually pretty much all the movies that I would want to see. You don't see new movies on there, admittedly, but they come through that service eventually. And it's cheaper than subscribing to all these different streaming services. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to get like $10 to $15 to $20 a month now. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, and if you're only watching if you're only the sort of person who watches like a couple movies a month, it's going to be cheaper that way. The only problem though is that I can foresee is that people don't really check the iTunes movie store very frequently. So there could be great deals going on movies that I would love to see, but I would never know because I don't check the iTunes movie store.
I've gotten to the habit of checking it once a week because it usually the stuff goes on sale like on the night that I'm editing or something. And so I'll just sit there and peruse and spend way too much time. Hold on a second. I'm getting an error that our recording is I must have done that on accident. Whoops. That our recording was paused. No, we're good. All right, shout out to Christopher Gavin. We got Level Remix here. And let me go ahead and send this tweet, and we will get this thing rolling. Do I have that lined up? Yeah. I know why I closed the window. Oh, you know what? I didn't close it. I was looking for the Twitter avatar instead of the X avatar.
Oh.
So it is open. Freaking Elon Musk. Yeah, all right. Yep, it's open. There it is. I got it open in two windows now. Let's get this thing X'd out. X. There we go. All right. And do we have people rolling in? Oh yeah, look at this. We got so many stories here to talk about here. I don't even know if we're gonna make it through all this stuff. We're almost positively gonna have to cut stuff out. So let's just go ahead and get this thing rolling. We got so much stuff. Let me go ahead and queue up Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D. Mrs. D. Oh, I have also got much to do, my dear. Oh, really? Oh, yes. Many things to do with El Caney. Oh, really? You guys going to be running some errands? Oh, no, I mean in the boudoir. I wish Lewis were here to react to that. Oh, my goodness. He might be in the chat, grossed out from afar. He really doesn't like the things that Mrs. D says about LK. He doesn't like it. It doesn't sit well with him. Not me either, actually, if I'm being honest. All right, well, Mrs. D, if you don't mind, we have a lot of Apple news to talk about. No one wants to hear about your escapades with LK. They just gross us out. And they're wrong. I'll be honest. They're wrong. You shouldn't be doing those things. I think we're ready to roll. I'm going to get the music queued up, and we will get this thing rolling. Let me just make sure that my last notes are up. Yes. Here we go. In 3. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Eric Funnell. Join me today. If he colored his hair white and he unbuttoned that shirt a few more rungs, be easy to mistake him for Apple executive Craig Federighi. He's a writer at CultCast. Griffin Jones is here.
Good evening. I'd have to wear stilts as well, though. Craig is a tall man.
He is pretty tall, isn't he? How tall are you?
Oh, I don't know, like 5'6", 5'7".
Okay.
Probably 5'8" to the top of the hair.
That hair? You're probably getting close to 5'10". How tall is Craig Federighi?
I'm gonna say 6'12".
Really? That's taller than I heard. I thought he was like 6'10" max. Now I think Tim Cook is also pretty tall. Like I think.
He's easily like 8'7".
He's 8'7". Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. I didn't realize that he was part Nephilim. And Eddie Q, I think, is also very tall. In fact, I've heard.
You think Eddie Q is really tall?
Yeah, well, he's got a tall personality.
Yeah.
How tall is he?
When they did that picture of them at in Germany on when Tim Cook was doing his tour of Europe, they actually did like Hobbit level camera trickery. You might have assumed that Tim Cook and Eddie Q were standing right next to each other, wearing their lederhosen, awkwardly gripping a mug of beer, but they were actually like 10 feet in front of each other to make it look like they were similar heights.
You're kidding. Did they really?
Mm-hmm.
He's like Tom Cruise. He's got the power to make people change the camera angles. I'm trying to figure out how tall he actually is, but it doesn't actually say anywhere. Now I'm curious. This is definitely not a good use of our time. Hold on, but now I need to know. Let's see here. How tall is Tim Cook? I'm gonna guess he's 6'2". And I've got a theory that I'm working on here. It's actually not my theory.
I don't know, 6. Might say like 6 even.
I mean, wait a second. What? According to IMDb, I don't know why IMDb would have this information. It says he's only 5'10¾". That's oddly specific. Let me see here. Yeah, there he is. He looks like he's a lot taller. It's probably because he's so narrow. So he just looks like he's tall. Yeah, it says he's 5'10³". That's interesting. So let's see here. Craig Federighi. I can't actually. I can't remember how to spell his name. Oh, it popped up. Let's see. How tall is he? Craig Federighi. No, it doesn't have his height here. No, never mind. All right, look. Should we move on? This is probably not what you all came here to hear. So we obviously have a lot to talk about. Tim Cook might be 6'3" level remixes say. Okay. I'm not sure he's quite that tall, but he looks that tall on stage, like I said, because he's just so slender. And he's got a big stage presence. Well, obviously, we have a lot to talk about here, my friends. We are going to be discussing all of our expectations for the Scary Fast event happening. It's next Tuesday evening. Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific
Monday.
time. Oh, it's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right, because Tuesday's Halloween. Wow. We're going to go through all of our hardware expectations, but along with that, we're also going to talk about how we got to this place. Like, did you notice? If you listened to the show last week, we were through the bottom of the barrel. We were several feet into the earth. Like, there was very little to talk about. And over the weekend,
I said jokingly on the show last week, man, next week Apple's just going to roll out an iMac, and the week after that they're going to cancel it. And yet,
right, because we've been going back and forth. There's been dueling rumors between Ming-Chi Kuo and Mark Gurman, and I firmly put my 2 feet into the Gurman camp. I was like, dude, if I had to choose between these two people, I'm going with Gurman, because Gurman is almost never wrong. In fact, I have I can't prove this in any way, shape, or form, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Gurman actually is getting his information directly from Apple. He's too right too often. And when he claims to know something, I can't think of a time, at least in the recent history, where he's been wrong. He's almost always right. And he has, it seems as though he has sources within Apple because of his ties to the developer community. But what I find to be incredibly odd, and I'm sorry, this is another tangent already, but what I find to be incredibly odd is there are other people who are very much tied into the developer community as well. John Gruber. How come John Gruber never has rumors like this? He never does. Or if he does, he's not saying. And so there's a lot of people within the Apple community who are developers who never get close to this level of knowledge about what Apple's plans are. And it just makes me think, like, where is he getting this information from? But then things like this week happen where it seems like Gurman didn't know about it to the last minute. Of course, that can mean that Apple didn't know about it to the last minute, which would actually make a lot of sense because of the way things have developed. So we're going to talk about what to expect at the Scary Fast event. I think we know exactly what's coming down the pipe. And my condolences to your wallets because I think you're really going to like this. TC is going to make me spend another $3,000 this year. I wasn't expecting that, but if they release an M3 Max MacBook Pro, there's a very good chance that I'm going to be one of the first on the list to buy that because I have an M1 Max, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see. New AirPods Max, new AirPods. I think we know exactly what's going to happen with all that stuff. So we'll dive into to all that stuff. There's almost too much to even discuss here, so we're going to try and keep the show under 5 hours. Before we dive into all the news, I do want to say thank you to Notion for supporting this episode. Notion AI is a oh my gosh, I'm stumbling all over my words. Let me mention actually also, I was super sick this weekend, and I'm still coming out of it. I still feel like I'm not sick anymore, but I feel like my brain isn't sure if it should be in bed at this moment or not. So I will say that this episode is sponsored by Notion, notion.com/CultCast, where you can go to try Notion AI for free. And we'll talk more about that in depth in just a little bit, but I want to thank Notion for supporting this episode. And let's just go ahead and dive right in. Let's start with Apple's Scary Fast event happening on Halloween Eve. Well, it's not really Halloween Eve, is it? It's the eve before Halloween.
It's the day before Halloween.
Oh, I guess Halloween's a day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll allow it.
But you think it was like at 10:32 p.m.?
Well, whenever I think about Halloween, it's always in the evening. So I'm like, well, the 31st.
Now it's Halloween. Now
Halloween Eve to me in my mind is like the 31st. It's like the eve of Halloween. It's Halloween that evening. I never thought about the eve being the day before. Anyway, look, let's just get into the Apple stories, Griffin.
As you just mentioned, you are rather tired today. Apple plans a Scary Fast event for Halloween Eve. It's official. A second Apple product release event of autumn takes place the evening before Halloween. If you just read the show notes, Irfan. Monday, October 30 at 5 p.m. Pacific time. It's a really weird time for an Apple event. They've never done an event that late. It's so bizarre because it's 5 p.m. California time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, which is the correct time zone. Where I'm not used to like I'm gonna have to work late that day. An 8 p.m. start time for us, that's so bizarre. And I've seen so many people like who live in Europe complaining about this because it's basically taking your pick of like midnight or like 2 a.m. that the event is starting. This is weird. I don't really know.
It's unprecedented. It's never happened
why
before.
They've done that. They've never done that before.
Well, now I've heard a theory on why they're doing it this way.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it has something to do with costumes, which we're going to dive into expectations or predictions. So we're going to be talking about hardware and stuff all throughout the show. But at the very end, we're going to be doing this segment that is fast becoming tradition where we talk about our predictions. And we'll actually vote on what we think is going to happen. And then next show, we'll revisit to see who got what right. And I think one of them might have to do with costumes. And if not, if none of them are going to be wearing costumes on this historic Halloween's Eve event, I'm going to be terribly disappointed.
If none of them are, that'll just be a waste of an opportunity.
It would
they
be
have
a
perfect
massive
opportunity.
waste. Yes.
Yeah.
One of them has to. I have a sneaking suspicion. I don't know why I think this is going to happen, but I think it makes way too much sense visually to not work. I think Craig Federighi is going to be dressed up as Dracula. Does he not just look like Dracula? Like all they need to do is put a cape on that guy.
The only problem is that he's the software guy, and I don't know if they'll have much software to talk about, although he would make for a good Dracula. I think Johnny Cerrugi is another good candidate as a Dracula. Okay. He's in the chip lab, all the lights are off.
He's kind of pale.
You see them like come on, and he like emerges from a rack of Mac Pros or something.
I like it. I love it. Sorry, I'm throwing us off already. Please continue.
It's fine. Apple has also dropped a big hint that this event will be Mac focused. It's not just outside the rumors. Like if the invitation is this glowing animated Apple logo, and if you stay on the page long enough, it morphs into the happy Finder face that is
They're definitely not being
synonymous with
subtle about this one, are they?
Mac stuff.
There's no mystery
No.
here.
I feel like they're doing that to set expectations that there will not be any iPads at this event. This is a Mac event. They do that occasionally. Like I want to say it was it was the iPhone 5 event that had like literally a giant number 5 on it.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder what this is going to be about.
Yeah, well, let's take a moment to appreciate this because, usually they are trying to be quirky and make some kind of like, artistic example that you could imply to mean many different things. But, if they got any closer, it would just be a video of Tim Cook saying, "The Macs are coming, y'all," and that would be it, But if you didn't see the invitation, we're showing it right now so you can see the animation. But I'm happy to see them giving some love to the Mac.
I think now would also be a good time to mention that this is strictly an online event. From the people who are typically invited to these things, all of them are saying, yeah, I didn't get an invite. Nobody is being invited to Apple Park in person to like watch it at the Steve Jobs Theater or have a hands-on event or anything like that. There might be like private press briefings like for a select few people, but like nothing that we've heard about. So this is going to be a much smaller event than has previously happened. Do you have
Which
any
I
thoughts
think is
on that?
telling, man. There's a lot of clues built in here. I mean, the fact that they're not having a hands-on, or at least it doesn't seem as though they're going to have a big hands-on event. It leads me to believe that what we're going to see is going to be updates of existing products and nothing that is very new and different from something that already exists. By that,
No dramatic
I mean
new designs.
exactly. Like, I was hoping that we might see a 32-inch iMac. I don't even know if we're going to see a larger iMac, period. Like, some people have been saying 27-inch iMac. I don't think we're going to see either of those two things. I think it's going to be a more powerful 24-inch iMac. And I could see them, so there was let me see if I could find this. It's probably too obscure to find, but there was a leak months back about USB-C cables that people thought were for the iPhone 15 models. And now it's clear that those are actually probably for a new iMac. And there was a black cable, so they're color matched, right? And when those didn't get released with the iPhone, people were like, well, wait a second, was that image fake? Well, now that we have the potential for new iMacs around the corner, which it seems like we will, it seems like those identify the colors of the iMacs that are going to be released, and there's a new black one. And I kind of wonder, like, black is usually saved for like a pro level computer, and I wonder if we're going to see all the iMacs updated, with the M3 chips, but there might be like a black model that lets you get like the M3 Pro in it or something, so you get a little bit closer to a pro level computer. I don't know, but I do find it interesting that one of the colors was black, and black is not usually a color that they sell a consumer version of, right? Like the iMac
Yeah, because
Pro was
they
black.
do sell a neutral iMac, but they market that as being like a silver and white computer because
Right.
it's silver aluminum, but it has a white face on it still.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, sorry, I'm jumping ahead of us. I still have sick brain, so forgive me. Let's keep going. Oh wait, was that everything?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. You might be wondering to yourself, how the heck did we end up here? So I was sick over the weekend, really high fever. I mean, look at me. I look like I'm barely just returning to the land of the living. And Griffin starts texting me this weekend. He's like, dude, check this out. And I was high fever trying to figure out, like, what the hell is he talking about? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, am I hallucinating? Because my temperature was so high that I was having like fever dreams and stuff. And I start looking into this, and it looks like we went from, the year's over, no more Apple products, to, wait a second, all of a sudden there's going to be an event, and, now there's going to be new Macs. And if you remember correctly, like Ming Chi Kuo, he said that there were going to be no new iMacs this year. We had absolutely no one had said anything about there being new MacBook Pros, I don't think. we didn't think M3 was going to happen until well into next year, and now all of a sudden we are in a situation where we have all this new stuff. So I was just going to walk us through the timeline here. If you're like, if your head is spinning and you're wondering like what the heck just happened, so I think it was Saturday. So credit to Mark Gurman. This is one of the things that makes me think, okay, well, he doesn't have a direct tie to Apple, because the way he pieced this together, it seems to me like he just kind of analyzed it and realized that this is the way things work before there is a new Apple update. So I think it was Saturday, he noticed that there were product shortages in stores on Amazon and on Apple's website. I'm trying to find the tweet here as I'm vamping. And he basically said, well, it looks like Apple is getting ready to release new MacBook Pros and new iMacs because you can't find them anywhere. And if you order them, they're not going to ship to you until November. And that's usually what happens when Apple's getting ready to release new products, which is, a good bit of business analyzation there. And then he goes on to say, well, if they are going to release new Macs, they're going to have to send out an invite soon because we don't have very much time left here. And then I think the next day, or maybe a couple days later, that's exactly what Apple did. Now, I don't know if this is coincidence. Again, is this coincidence or not? I can't tell. Or if he has a source deep within Apple. Here we go. I found it. October 22nd. So what day was that? That was Sunday. That makes more sense. Apple's iMacs and MacBook Pros are in extremely short supply online and in retail stores. New models may be coming soon. The company is likely planning a Mac-related launch at the end of this month. I mean, dude, I don't know. That seems suspicious to me. It's like you suddenly notice that the Mac models are low, or did Apple reach out and say, "Hey, man, we're just letting you know we've decided to have a Mac event, and we're pulling together all the pieces last minute. We're going to make this big push to push new Macs out before the end of the year because we need the sales. We need to increase revenues." I don't know. I'm not sure. The next tweet, Mark says, the high-end configurations of the MacBook Pro and several configs of iMac are sold out, seeing massive delays at Apple, Amazon, Best Buy. Elsewhere, leading into the holidays, last time Apple earnings were in November was after an October 30th launch event. Okay? Maybe that's just him being good at his job. He's good at his job, I fully admit. And so maybe he just figured that out. Or did he get some tweets from a little birdie over at Cupertino? I don't know. Let's see here. Then he talks about AI. No one cares about that. Let's see here. He's tweeting about Macs again. Okay, then he goes on. This is Monday. If Apple is holding an event early next week, I have to imagine they will send out invites tomorrow sometime, though I doubt it will be in person. The normal preparations ahead of an in-person launch aren't happening. Okay. So, lo and behold, the next day, he's like a prophet, man. The day before, surely if they're going to send out an invite, it's going to be happening. They're going to have to send it out soon. The very next day, Apple confirms October 30th event, Scary Fast, 5 p.m. Pacific time online. I got to take a sip of water. So, I don't know what to make of this. Like I said, sometimes I think that he's got a red phone on his desk that connects directly to TC, and he's getting these rumors directly from the source. Because I mean, his accuracy is so good, man. I mean, there's just no one who is as accurate as Mark, and it could just be that he has incredible sources inside of Apple. But
I mean, he does show all his work. He outlines how he got there. Like, Apple products are in low supply in retailers. Like that's something anybody can point out and figure out.
Yes, but him suddenly figuring that out on a Sunday afternoon? You know what I mean? Like, how long have they been in short supply? It surely didn't just happen on Sunday.
I mean, he probably writes those in advance. I imagine he doesn't wake up very early on Sunday and figures, what am I going to write about this week? And then just publishes these things.
But he started it on Sunday. I don't know, man. I just find that incredibly odd timing. Like, who's working on a Sunday? Not very many people are working on Sundays.
Yeah, because
And
he probably works on those throughout the week leading up to the Sunday.
but if he realized this last week
Mm-hmm.
before Sunday, why would he wait on this? It would be in his benefit to put it out there
Hmm.
as fast as possible because he wants to be the first to break it. So,
Well, he does also publish. I mean, he has his newsletter, which is scheduled to go out every Sunday. But then he also does do breaking news like throughout the week if there's something important, like the AirPods story that we're going to talk about later in this show. He does both kinds of reporting, but
yeah,
I
that's
imagine there
true.
is some news that he sits on just so he has so that his Sunday newsletter is juicy.
Okay, well, I mean that checks out. Maybe that's what happened. I just find the timing of the whole thing incredibly interesting. So I don't know. Maybe that is what he was doing, but everything that happened last minute. So within the course of, I guess, 2 days, we had a new rumor that Apple was probably going to be releasing new MacBook Pros and a new iMac, and a suspicion from Mark that an invite would be going out, and then the invite actually going out. So that's how all of this happened. If you're confused, I don't blame you. I was kind of confused, and I was trying to figure out how all this developed because, Ming Chi Kuo especially, he has been getting some stuff wrong. I mean, he clearly said no new iMacs, no new MacBook Pros with M3. Although I don't know if he said no new MacBook Pros with M3. He said no M3, I believe. So I want to try to be careful how I put
Well,
words in his
no,
mouth.
you have that right. He did say it was 2 weeks ago that um, he said no new MacBooks with M3, and then it was the week it was that week that we said, well, that doesn't explicitly exclude the iMac because the iMac isn't a MacBook. Then it was the following week, 7 days later or 7 days ago, that he said, well, that there was the follow up story.
Yeah.
No new iMac either. And then it was 3 days later on Sunday that the rest of this happened.
Yeah, so him and Mark have been going back and forth. I mean, not at each other, but with these rumors. And Gurman got it right. And even Ming Chi Kuo came out and he said that his assumptions about supply chain stuff were just not right. And he thinks that Apple's doing this to bolster sales, which I actually think there is something to that. So anyway, there's going to be an event Monday night, 5 p.m. Some people, I think the guys at Mac Rumors were saying that they think that this is going to be a video game focused event. Like they're going to really try to push the MacBook. But did you not see this? They're
No,
really going to try
I don't
and
read
push
Mac rumors.
MacBook Pros as a viable gaming laptop, and that's one of the reasons why they're holding it so late is because there's going to be a participation from a Japanese publisher, maybe Capcom or something,
Hmm.
and maybe they want to appeal to a Japanese audience, which would be available at that time. I don't know if that's true. I saw some people getting excited about Mac gaming, and I'm like, dude, that is such a massive boulder to push. Like, even if they came out with the most baller gaming machine, it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter how good your hardware is. Everyone uses Steam, and publishers are used to creating video games for specific platforms in specific ways. And just because you have a powerful machine, like they don't care about that. What they care about is if I'm going to develop a game and spend $1 million, am I going to make my money back and more? And on a Mac, that's an incredibly precarious position to put yourself in. Like you most likely will not. So the idea that this is going to be a Mac gaming focused event, I mean, I don't know. I think that would be interesting, but having a powerful Mac that's able to game doesn't get you anywhere close to being a gaming machine because you need the ecosystem. And right now, and that's hard to build. I mean, look at what Microsoft's doing. They're buying up studios left and right just so they can guarantee that they own games and those games will be made for their platforms. So having a powerful Mac isn't going to get you all the way there. If Apple really wants to get serious about gaming, they're going to have to start paying studios to make games for Mac or guaranteeing a certain level of money or wooing those people into Apple Arcade to make games for Mac. I mean, they're going to have to pay their way to get there. There's no way they're going to get there in any other way. I digress.
I mean,
Let's
that's
see.
effectively what they're trying to do. Like it's been the past few, every time they've had a Mac release, they've been reminding us that like some Tomb Raider game is available on the Mac and No Man's Sky is available on the Mac. And like,
No
I
Man's
don't, I don't
Sky.
even, those are like the two that they cite every time. Occasionally they have a new one, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes of those negotiations, but I wouldn't be surprised if Apple is paying for that for those ports as well.
Yeah, I imagine that they probably are because I know the game studio probably is not willing to take that risk, or there must be some guarantees in place. So anyway, we've spent way too much long. We buried the lead. So what are we actually expecting in this event, right? Okay, so according to Gurman, and I think that his word is gold here in this particular situation. He wrote in his Bloomberg piece, inventory of existing high-end 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros, as well as the all-in-one iMac desktop, has dwindled. We already talked about that part. And these are typically signs that a product update is looming. So that's what we expect. And there was a lot of question of, well, is it going to be an M2 update, right? Because we weren't expecting M3 until next year. But Gurman had a story, I forget when it came out, we talked about it, where he said Apple is already testing the M3 variant chips. And it seems like they actually have been doing that for a while. So I could see us being in a position where these are going to be M3. And at this point, calling your event Scary Fast, it's got to be M3 Max. Otherwise, you're clowning yourself big time. Then I really do hope that Tim Cook shows up in a clown costume with a big nose. Because if it's not M3, it's going to be. I mentioned this on X. The memes are going to be legendary. Like, you can't call this Scary Fast and then just show up with an M2 variant.
I mean, if the whole press is talking about how they're expecting M3 at this event, surely Apple would try to like secretly tamper expectations by saying, no, M3 isn't coming this time around. You have to wait again.
Yeah,
or
you're probably
these are just going to
right.
be M2 products.
TC would have used his red line phone and called Gurman and given him that bit of information. So I just think this is a stunning series of events. And I think there's only been one time in Apple's, I don't even know if it's recent history, maybe history, that they've updated the same Mac more than once in a year. So, in fact, Gurman talked about this in one of his tweets, and I can't remember exactly what he said. Like, there was like some G5 model that they updated and then updated again within 3 months. But this is a very rare occurrence, and especially if you were an M2 owner. Oh man, I think this is going to be a pretty big bummer for you because I think M3 is going to be a not insignificant update in speed and performance and that type of thing.
In more recent history, something like that happened to the iPad 2. The iPad 3 replaced the iPad 2 for all of like 8 months before the iPad 4 came out. And that was a time when there was only one iPad. They didn't have a whole lineup. Like, they introduced the iPad 3 with the Retina display, and then like 8 months later they came out with the iPad 4 that switched to like Lightning, and it gave it an actually like competent processor inside of it.
I mean, I've told this story before. I remember I bought a MacBook Pro, this is years ago, and they were still using I forget which GPU they were using. But when I bought it, it wasn't really that big of an upgrade over the previous generation GPUs, but it's what Apple had available, so I bought it. And then 8 months later, they added the availability of the Vega 20 chip to the GPU options, which I had never seen them do that before. So now all of a sudden, there's a way better GPU option available. And this was during the time when Apple was using Intel chips. And so every year, like, they just didn't really get that much faster. They were just basically the same every year, like 5% faster or something, or they would overclock them or something. But they didn't really make any big gains. So, like, having a GPU that's, like, significantly more performant was kind of a big deal. I was pissed. I was like, 8 months in, you released a brand new, or you made available a brand new GPU. Like, I was so mad. Streamlines in the chat. He's like, I remember Airphones ran about that upgrade. He was practically in tears. I was mad. I was so mad that I actually ended up buying it and selling my old MacBook Pro.
I was so mad. I gave them exactly what they wanted.
I gave them exactly more money. But I wasn't happy about it, Griffin. I was not happy about it, Yeah, so it looks like we are going to get M3 Pro and Max chips. And I guess the one other thing I would mention is, and I don't think this is going to happen, but I do think that there's a possibility. Where is it? Browser mode.
The suspense.
OLED iPad and MacBook rumored to feature specialized display materials. Now, this is a story that I think that we covered. Um, this is a Mac rumor story, and they're saying that Apple has been working with LG to integrate OLED into some of its future devices. Now, this story says that they're not going to get any OLEDs into Macs until 2027. But I'm thinking, okay, that's probably true. But if they're going to release a new MacBook Pro, is it enough to just upgrade to the M3 Max and leave it at that? Or do they have to add something else? And I was like, well, it'd be pretty interesting if they also added OLED. That would be something that would be a big deal, but not a big enough deal to warrant an in-person event, because it would be an increase in contrast ratio and like color accuracy and that thing. You don't need to have a big, in-person event to push that. But I don't know. What do you think, Griffin? Do you think it's enough to just plop in the M3 Max and call it good and just do an online video and be like, all right, here are some updated MacBook Pros now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I mean,
well, maybe it's just me then. All right.
this is the kind of thing that, like, you said this computer is only arriving like a matter of like 9 months after the last revision to the same computer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a chip update. Like, this is, you know, we were complaining during the Intel. I mean, not we specifically, because I wasn't on the show during the Intel era, but broadly, we as like the tech community were complaining during the Intel era that Apple wasn't updating these computers very frequently. They would go like at least 18 months between revisions on the MacBook Pros, stuff like that. Well, this is what happens when you get more regular updates. You get smaller updates. They have new chips ready, so they're going to update the MacBooks with newer chips. Later, we'll get the new displays, and that'll be another update.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that, and I think that let's see here. Do I have Ming-Chi Kuo's quotes or tweets or his X's up here? Not the one I was looking for. Man, my brain really is out of it. So basically, what Ming-Chi Kuo was saying was that Apple's doing this to bolster sales,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to sell more Macs, and their Mac sales are lower than expected. Now, I haven't seen any stories about that, so I think that maybe he is making that presumption based off of supply chain sources that he has. Because Apple's getting ready to do a, don't they have like a financial call coming up sometime soon?
Yeah, I
It's in
think
November.
like 2 days after the event.
Okay, yeah. So I think that maybe he's onto something in that they know that their numbers are going to be down, and they're taking proactive action to bolster sales so that they can say, well, sales have been down, and then they can point to the things that they're doing now to increase sales throughout the rest of the year. And I think that might check out. Like the economy's not doing super well.
I think on
Across the
top of
world
that,
at the
a
moment.
big part of that is that they just had almost like a baby boom level event in 2020. Like the baby boom post World War II had this like new gigantic generation of children that has like knock-on effects as they aged. I mean, and are still continuing to age, and it's kind of a continuing problem. But anyways, like Apple is going through a similar problem in that everybody bought a new computer in early 2020. So there's like this wave of they have this giant wave of customers that are all on the exact same cycle, and only 3.5 years later, they're probably not ready for a new computer yet. It's unusual that Apple, like the demand for computers was so high that everybody was buying a MacBook, even though everybody knew objectively it was a bad time to buy a MacBook, because that was early 2020 before Apple had even announced the Apple Silicon transition, when everybody still kind of knew it was coming. There would be Apple Silicon Macs by the end of the year that made all of those computers horribly obsolete. I mean, I'm in that camp. I was in a position where I kind of had to buy my wife the early 2020 MacBook Air, and she has the M1 MacBook Air at her work, and like she's a totally non-technical person, but she can tell that those computers are just leagues apart in power and
Yeah.
capability. So everybody who bought a computer around that time, they probably don't need a new one yet. So they're trying to like bolster these sales by coming out with all of these models, just to try and catch your attention. Like, hey, there's an M2 MacBook Pro out. Hey, there's an M3 MacBook Pro out. Hey, do you want to bite? Do you want to buy one? It's a good computer. No, my computer's only 3.5 years old.
What's
Well,
so
they're doing what they
mind-boggling
can.
about this, though, is like this is not this messes with the natural order. Like normally we get the new series of chips introduced in the MacBook Air, and then they graduate up, and now it looks like they're going the exact opposite direction. Because I think Gurman said that he's not expecting new MacBook Airs until next year, and I think Ming-Chi Kuo has said the same thing. I found the tweets by Ming-Chi Kuo. He says, as far as I know, Apple attributes the significant decline in MacBook shipments in 2023 mainly to the limited M2 computing power upgrade. I believe this is why Apple may prefer to launch the M3 Series Pro or MacBook Pro, even when its production volume is still rather low. Let me open this.
That is another part of the story. Like we were talking earlier, like the story all year long has been Apple has bought all of TSMC's 3 nanometer production capabilities, so there probably can't be new Macs running M3 yet this year. It looks like they're just trying to squeeze them in anyways,
Yeah.
and they're just going to accept that they won't have very high shipments.
God, I mean, the shipments they expect must be higher than the shipments they have now. Otherwise, why would you do that? You're basically
Mm-hmm.
shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because you'll be making less money. So let's see here. Ming-Chi Kuo goes on to say, if the M3 can't boost MacBook shipments, I think the likelihood of introducing the all-new design MacBook Pro in 2025 may increase. So earlier than expected. Apple may also consider, but hasn't decided yet, introducing a more affordable MacBook Pro model to boost shipments with a target of 8 to 10 million units per year. Well, look, I mean, if you're wondering what the M3 Max can do, I saw more analysis by Gurman on that. I mean, not shocking, but he was expecting up to 16 CPU cores and up to 40 GPU cores for the MacBook Pro. Now that's bonkers. I mean, how many cores the M1 Max? I always forget this. It has 10 cores, right? M1 Max CPU cores. I think it's 10. It might be 12. Let's see here. So the M1 Max, the reason I use the M1 Max is because that's what I have, and I think a lot of you probably have the same thing. Yeah, it's up to 10 core CPU and 32 core GPU. So that would be a pretty big boost in performance, and I imagine that they will be using a better, a more efficient process to create these chips. So they'll probably be more efficient anyway, just because the technology has improved, the manufacturing has improved. They'll fit more transistors on there. But then they're also going to have 60% more cores than the M1 Max. Like that's a pretty big, massive difference in performance just from the CPU perspective. And then you also get like an additional 8 cores. So like if you're a video editor, like you should be celebrating right now. If you do any editing of any kind, this is going to be like a huge, a huge change in performance for you. And then
Well,
the other thing, yeah, go for
here
it.
we get to a slightly complicating factor in that everybody is talking about MacBook Pro, but the MacBook Pro is itself two different products with the same name. There's the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which is basically a glorified MacBook Air with a fan and a touch bar
I
and
don't even talk
MagSafe.
about that.
And then there's also
I
the
don't even
14
consider
and
that a
16-inch
MacBook
MacBook
Pro.
Pro.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. We'll get to this when we get to the predictions part of the segment later, but I don't know. I feel like when I'm kind of expecting them to just do the 13-inch MacBook Pro and not touch the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro.
Wait a second. Did you say that you're expecting them to only do the 13-inch and not touch the 14 and 16?
Yeah.
That would be one of the biggest disappointments of my lifetime. Are you being serious? I can't tell if you're being serious right now.
I am being serious. I think they're only gonna do the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Maybe I'm misreading all of these rumors because I guess I haven't been reading Gurman stuff quite as extensively as you
I've been
have, but
pouring
like,
through his timeline. I don't think I've ever said
mhm.
Gurman so many times in my life. Certainly not within this much of a condensed time period. But he's the one that's been following this the most closely. And I don't know,
Like,
man.
is he specifically saying 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro when he talks about like the retail shortages and all that?
Yeah, so he literally
Hmm.
said 14 and 16-inch high-end MacBook
Okay.
Pros and then the iMac. He's
Hmm.
like, those are the ones that are out of stock on Best Buy. They're out of stock on Amazon. I mean, shoot. Let's go. Apple.com.
Interesting.
We're doing it live. Loosen your tie. Loosen your tie,
I think you
Griffin.
have
We're doing it
to.
live.
You probably have to go for like Best Buy or something like that
Well, let's just go straight
because
to
he's
the
talking.
source.
Okay, sure. All right.
Let's go straight to the source. Let's go
Mhm.
MacBook Pro. Okay. Where's browser mode? And let's look at this. They got the 13-inch. Look at that. That's like, this is the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull MacBook edition right here, right? It doesn't even exist to me. I don't even want to see it. And we're going to go to the 14 and 16-inch. They keep trying to push this 13-inch in my face. Let's just go to the high end and select it and see what it says. I'm not going to change anything. Yeah, dude. Shipping November 20th,
Mm,
you know?
okay, I stand corrected. I might be changing some of my predictions.
Okay, so let's go back to, oh, shoot, I'm helping you out, aren't I? Okay, let's go to the 14-inch. Yep, ships November 10th to November 17th.
Hmm.
Well, now, this is interesting. The 14-inch, the base model, and I guess the mid model, they are available today.
Hmm.
Now, that is interesting. Wait, that's for pickup. So if you want to order the mid model, that's also mid-November. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm reconvincing myself that you're wrong. And let's look at one other thing. Let's go to iMac. We're doing it in real time. We're going to the iMac. We're confirming. This is what a journalist does. You get a lead like I do from Mark Gurman's tweets. I got a lead from his tweets. We do the research, okay? We're going to the iMac 24-inch. Now, wait a second. Did their header say iMac 24-inch before? It probably did. But
It probably did,
I
yeah.
don't recall it saying that. I thought it
Because
was,
for a while they were selling the 24-inch simultaneously with the iMac Pro.
all right, I'll allow it. Let's go to buy. Let's see what happens. So, if you want to buy the iMac, well, now, hold on a second. If you want to buy the iMac, available for pickup today, and you can have it shipped. Now that is interesting.
Hmm.
So, and if you have it shipped, it gets delivered October 30th.
Hmm.
So those do not have a massive delay on Apple's website.
Interesting.
So, that is interesting. Okay, let's go to Best Buy. The research continues. Is this interesting? Am I boring people? We probably should move on.
We can move on to the next story if we
All
want.
right, yeah, let's not do it because I just realized that this is probably interesting for people who are watching, but if you're not watching and you're listening, which is most of you, you're like, what the heck is he doing? All right, well, look, let's talk about iMac just to sum up. So we are expecting at this point an iMac with an M3. I think it's probably going to be 24 inches, and it's literally going to be the same iMac with the same colors. It's just going to have an M3 in it. What do you think about that, Griffin?
Yeah, I think that's all that computer needs. If it's the lower level model, I think they have room where they could put a pro level chip in there. I mean, certainly the Mac Mini is also a compact, internally compact device that takes both the M and M Pro level chip. But I don't think the smaller iMac really needs that. Apple is saying that if you need a bigger screen, more powerful chip, you take your pick of Mac Mini or Mac Studio with a studio display. And I think that's fine. I don't think that's a perfect solution. I think there is still room for a bigger iMac, but for the smaller one, the people buying that computer, they don't need a lot of space.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to have to wait long before all shall be revealed. But I could do another hour just on this one specific topic. I don't think people want to hear us do it. Let's see. Kern Blanson saying, I almost missed this CultCast. Glad I'm here. Yeah, for watching us search Apple's website live. I apologize. I apologize to everyone. Okay, look, we're going to talk about AirPods here next because I know many of you are probably wondering about that. Is there going to be other hardware? Before we dive into that, let me go back and say thank you to Notion for supporting this episode. I've been using Notion AI, and I'm just having a lot of fun, man. It's like the WYSIWYG of AI chat. So let me bring this up. There we go. Yeah, I got it right there. Perfect. Notion AI helps you work faster, write better, and think bigger, doing tasks that normally take you hours in just seconds. So what does that mean? So Notion AI is like a supercharged AI version of Apple's Notes app, except it does way more than Apple's Notes app does. And it's got a really cool, easy-to-use AI engine that's built in. So you don't have to go to like these external AI engines and type all your stuff in. No, you just hit the space bar, and Notion will lay out all these prompts of things that the AI can do for you. And there's a ton of stuff. Like you can translate your text that you have in there into like one of, I think, 14 different languages. If you're just trying to write something, and this is what I find it to be very useful for. If you're just trying to write something that isn't mission critical, right? Like you just need to create a blurb about something and you don't want to do the work yourself. You can have Notion AI do that for you. In fact, I had it do that for me right before this show. And I said, write me a short bio of Steve Jobs. Now, this is something that in the Apple sphere you might need, right? This is what it wrote me. I'm going to read you exactly what it wrote me, okay? Steve Jobs was an American business magnate, industrial designer, and inventor. He co-founded Apple Inc. and played a pivotal role in the development of iconic products like the Macintosh, iPhone, and iPad. Known for his visionary leadership and attention to detail, Jobs revolutionized the technology industry with his innovative designs and user-friendly interfaces. So far, so good. His passion for simplicity and elegance in design shaped Apple's brand identity and influenced countless industries worldwide. Steve Jobs' contributions to the world of technology continue to inspire, and his legacy remains a significant influence in the tech world. Now, I consider myself to be a pretty decent writer. I'm probably not the best, but I'm pretty good. I could not have written a better short bio if I spent 30 minutes on that, and that literally took me probably 6 seconds to do. All I did was create a prompt. Now, if you wanted to, I could highlight that block that I just wrote you, and I could say, make it shorter, make it longer. I could change the tone from professional to casual to straightforward to confident to friendly. I could summarize it. Now, this wouldn't be relevant in this instance, but I could find action items. I mean, if you posted like a whole article in from like any website that you could think of and just asked it to summarize it into relevant points, it would do that for you. And you can do this all right from within Notion AI's easy-to-use interface. It's like it's a lot like what Apple did with Windows and DOS, where you had to like know all the commands and type them all yourself. And what Notion does is they have a beautiful UI that lets you interact with all of your text easily and to know what your options are and to click around and do exactly what you need to do. It's a huge time saver. You can also have it fix your spelling and grammar. And I'm just scratching the surface. I mean, it does way more than this. You can use it to like manage your projects, to brainstorm ideas, create lists of things that you need to accomplish. Here's another thing I did. I'm going to keep this super short because I know I'm going long on this. I was just curious. I was like, write me the steps for detailing a car. I just wanted to see if it could do it. It wrote me out a 9-step list, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but they're accurate. They're accurate. I've detailed a car before. I'm not an expert. But the thing that I thought was interesting was the very last step. And it said, remember, attention to detail is key when detailing a car to achieve a professional and pristine result. And I was like, dude, that's 100% correct. I mean, you could write a list, but it's the little small things that you do that set you apart from everyone else who cleans your car because of your attention to detail. And I was like, that's a nuanced little step that you probably wouldn't find if you just Googled stuff. So anyway, I'm just impressed, and I definitely recommend that if you do a lot of writing or project management, or you just want something where you can access generative chat without having to go and use all these other tools and keep everything organized within one app, definitely go check out Notion. Try Notion AI for free when you go to notion.com/cultcast. That's all lowercase letters. Notion.com/cultcast to try out the incredible power of Notion AI today. And when you use our link, you're supporting our show, obviously, which we appreciate. That's notion.com/cultcast. Try Notion AI for free right now at notion.com/cultcast. All right. Let's keep moving on here, Griffin. Where are we? I've completely lost my sense of time and space.
I'm going to tell everybody about AirPods 4.
Okay, good. Let's do that. Take it away.
Okay, AirPods 2 and 3 will get the axe in 2024 to be replaced with a fourth generation that will come in 2 versions, according to an unconfirmed report from Mark Gurman. One AirPods 4 model will offer...
I apologize for saying Gurman's name this many times. No one's to say Gurman's name this many times in one show. I feel like if we say it any more times, he's actually going to appear in person.
Hey, maybe that'll make for good podcasting.
Actually,
one AirPods 4 model will offer active noise canceling and have a charging case that supports the Find My app. A cheaper version will not have either feature. But both will supposedly get a new design, just probably not one that adds removable silicone ear tips, which will remain exclusive to the AirPods Pro, although that will limit the effectiveness of active noise canceling. And their charging case will use USB-C in place of the current Lightning port, as I imagine all of their peripherals will going forwards. Pricing for the higher and lower end new versions will allegedly cost about the same as AirPods 2, $129, and AirPods 3, $179. I find it... I read Mark's original story when he put that out on, I think, like Wednesday. No, it was earlier than that. It was like Monday or Tuesday. On one hand, he delineates that rumor as he hears it, two models of AirPods, but then he also says that like Apple has apparently been struggling to differentiate AirPods 3 from AirPods 2, saying that most people just go for the cheaper AirPods 2. They're not willing to spend the extra $50 to go to AirPods 3 because the difference between them isn't like easily understood to most people, and as it is, like they don't really see any benefit to spending $50 extra because that's like an extra 45% more. But then he also says that Apple, if that were true, why would Apple then replace this confusing lineup with 2 more models at the same price with the same like sort of different lack of differentiation between them?
I actually think that this makes sense, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I don't really like the whole having different models of, and by different models, I mean different eras of the same product for sale at the same time. It's like, oh, I'm going to buy the AirPods 2 and the AirPods 3 and the AirPods 4. Like they're all available at the same time, but some of them are old, some of them are new. To me, it makes more sense to release AirPods 4 and do what they say they're going to do. And there's 2 different versions of AirPods 4, right? Like there's the version with all the features, and then there's the version with some of the features. And at least in my mind, that seems to make more sense because now I know I'm getting the most current product, but it may not have all the features that are available because it's not the better version of that one product. I mean, it's like the iPhone, right? You can get different specs of the same iPhone, but if you're on the iPhone 15, you know you have the most current phone. So at least for me, and actually, when I was reading through this, I was like, I would actually love to have a pair of AirPods that had active noise cancellation. Thank you. And I would use that, but I don't want to have the silicone tips. That's the reason I don't buy AirPods Pro, because I don't want to have the tips, man. They hurt my ears. They make my ears hurt. And the AirPods are perfect. And even if the active noise cancellation wasn't perfect because they don't seal in your ear all the way, I'm actually fine with that. That's one of the things that I like about the AirPods is that they allow me to have situational awareness without having to turn on the transparency mode, which I don't love. It feels artificial. I'd rather just be able to hear the ambient noise. And so for me to have AirPods that fit in my ear perfectly, because they fit my ears perfectly, like there's never been anything in my ear that felt as pleasant as an AirPod. How's that for a statement? I mean,
Is
it just
that
I could
is
sleep
that
with them
is
in
that
my
a tight
ears.
competition though? Is that a competitive race?
I mean, I've had a lot of things in my ears, Griffin. A lot of things have
Okay,
gone in my ears,
maybe
and
it is.
eventually my ears get tired of them, but not with the AirPods. And so to have the option to use active noise cancellation, and be able to dial out my kids screaming at one another, or to be in the gym and to dial out the lunks who are, grunting at the top of their lungs when they're lifting weights that are way too heavy for them and their form's terrible. That would be nice. I wouldn't mind that at
Mhm.
all. So for me, this is actually very exciting, but I think it also confirms that obviously no AirPods are coming to this event. So if you've been hoping for AirPods, it looks like that's not going to happen. Did you mention AirPods Max yet?
No, I didn't see that in the show notes here. Is that part of the story that you have brought
Oh
up?
yeah, sorry about that. So I'll just mention this last blurb because some people were asking us about AirPods Max. So I'm not going to say his name. You already know who I'm talking about, at least according to he whose name I shan't mention. Um, AirPods Max are also getting updated, but not coming at this event, and actually not even coming until next year. And at this point, it looks like, from what we have heard so far, that there will be new color options and USB-C for AirPods Max, but there hasn't been any details on anything more. I can't I can't imagine a world where Apple releases updates to AirPods Max and it doesn't upgrade the audio fidelity to lossless. That is not a world that I believe exists, because that was a major bungle, in my opinion, releasing this high-end pair of headphones and then connecting it to Bluetooth, which is not a high quality connection. So they're selling these headphones as audiophile headphones, but then you're listening to Bluetooth music. I mean, dude, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I think they're going to have to update it to have lossless. That's going to have to be
Apple's
something
going
else
all
that
in
they
on
do.
lossless as like a marketing thing that differentiates Apple Music from other platforms too. Like Spotify charges, they finally rolled out their loss. At least I think they did. They announced that they're at least closer to rolling out their lossless tier of Spotify, and they're charging more for that, I think. Or no, maybe I have that wrong in some way. Anyways, like Apple's making a bigger push to lossless that they weren't really at when they launched the original versions of AirPods Max in 2020. And especially it's weird because like supports AirPods Pro 2 have like this extra degree of connectivity when you use it with a Vision Pro.
Right.
And as Apple is all in on that hardware product, it would be highly unusual if their more expensive headphones don't work over that same protocol.
Yeah. So maybe at the very least, they'll lock it to the Vision Pro. I don't think so. The one thing we forgot to mention is with the iMac upgrade, clearly they're going to be moving to USB-C accessories, right? So
Mhm.
the Magic keyboard and the Magic Mouse. Do they still call it the Magic Mouse?
They do.
I hate that thing. I try not to think about it. It's like the worst accessory I've ever used in my entire life. Those will obviously be losing Lightning. Apple's going to be making a big push
Well,
to USB-C.
I imagine if they come out with a new version of them, they would switch to USB-C, but I don't think new accessories are guaranteed. They could just continue selling them as they are to this day.
You mean with Lightning still?
Yeah.
I mean, they could, but
I mean, surely they won't introduce a new version, like a new keyboard and a new trackpad with Lightning. But I can imagine if they, it's possible. It's not a guarantee that we'll get new devices at all.
I see what you're saying. I think at the bare minimum they would offer. I mean, they would have to offer USB-C versions of the same accessories. They're not going to change them
Mhm.
probably, but they'll just upgrade the connection type, just because they're gonna get rid of Lightning, man. Lightning's gone. Lightning gone. It gone, man. Like they're getting rid of it. They're gonna be moving on across the board, and all your Lightning stuff, dude, is now completely worthless. Just worthless garbage. Sucks. I'm doing a big old purge of my cables in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Going through, getting rid of all the lightning cables, and my wife had to stop me. She's like, "You realize I still have lightning stuff, right?" And I said, "Not in my home. Not in my home." But she still has. She still actually does have some lightning stuff. So I'm like, okay, I guess I can't get rid of all the lightning cables. But dude, it's so nice being able to like walk inside my house and not have to look for a charger for my iPhone. I can just plug it into my MacBook Pro charger. That really, the USB-C functionality of the iPhone is, I don't want to say it's underrated because I don't know if anyone is actually underrating it, but it's eminently useful. It's probably like one of my favorite features about the phone.
If it isn't underrated, is it being praised enough?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it. Like, I just love the fact that I can charge my phone with my MacBook Pro charger now and my iPad, and I relish the time where I'll be able to do it with my AirPods as well. Let's see here. Do we have anything interesting going on in the chat? I'm looking. Now, you guys are talking to each other. My favorite thing about the CultCast is when they go off on a tangent, even with the ads. Yeah. We're not short on tangents in this show, for sure. Okay, let's see here. Where are we going next? Oh, we need to talk about, we need to do, Apple's making some crazy price increases. They're coming your way. Talk about raising rates. I actually think this is a big mistake. I'll tell you why. And then we're going to wrap up with predictions. Before we do that, though, I also want to give a shout out. It cracks me up that I even have to mention this, because I'm pretty sure that Mac Break Weekly is a much bigger program than we are. So I think it's cool that Leo does these swaps with us. So basically and I mentioned this before, we do these like promo swaps with different podcasts where they promote us. Like if we feel like we have similar content or like a similar like feel, then we'll do these swaps, and it's like, hey, your listeners might like this show and our listeners might like your show, so let's just promote each other's shows. And I think that really the fact that Leo Laporte keeps coming back to us, I think it shows that, like that dance that we had at South by Southwest 14 years ago, I think it really stuck with him. Like he probably thinks about it oftentimes. I've seen him spaced out on Mac Break Weekly from time to time. He does a lot of podcasts. It's understandable. But I think he might be thinking about that dance. He lets his mind drift, and it goes right back. It was a really special moment between the two of us, and we got along great. I haven't talked to him in a long time, and I'm not sure he could pick me out of a lineup of other podcast hosts, to be honest with you. But, I think the effect, the feel really stuck with him. I'm supposed to be talking about his podcast, aren't I? So let me do this. I'm going to literally just read. I honestly, they give me this block of text that I should read, and it's good. But I'm like, he should just let me say whatever I want. Maybe he wouldn't mind. I'm going to read this, though. Verbatim.
Maybe he doesn't, because you just go on a tangent about it the one time he danced. Maybe that's exactly why he sent you a block of text.
Touche. Let's see here. We have a great recommendation for you guys. When it comes to Apple, these guys know what they're talking about. Leo Laporte, the founder of Twit. The founder of Twit.tv bought his first Mac over 40 years ago in 1984 and has been an Apple lover ever since. That's probably why they have 3, not 1, not 2, Griffin, but 3 Apple podcasts on the Twit network, the Twit Podcast Network. The oldest, of course, is Mac Break Weekly, started almost 20 years ago. Alex Lindsay, Andy Anatko, a.k.a. Wolverine's older uncle, Jason Snell, and Leo talk about the latest Apple news. They are fans, but not Apple fanboys. Boy, that describes us, too. Sometimes we take some heat for that, but I think that's the way to go. They call it as it is, and sometimes they're even a little hard on Apple, but they also do a show called iOS Today with Micah Sargent, pardon me, Rosemary Orchard. I should have you read this. My goodness, I'm losing it today. If you're into iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches, or Apple TV, you'll love iOS Today. Then, of course, there's Hands-On Mac, inside tips with Micah Sargent on getting the most out of your Apple devices every week, expert analysis, helpful advice, and entertaining discussions. Pardon me. Go to twit.tv/Apple to find your next favorite Apple podcast. That is twit.tv/Apple. I want to thank My best and close friend Leo Laporte for promoting our show and for letting us promote him. He's one of the OGs, and he's just a nice guy. twit.tv/Apple. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about something that you probably are not going to like, although TC is giddy about it because he wants some more of those hard-earned dollars that you all have been trying to keep in your own bank account, which is going to be even harder once they announce these new hardware products next week. But it's not just hardware going up.
Can I tease our audience again? Because I just remembered something that we should pay at least some lip service to.
Okay, lip away.
There is a new giveaway on cultofmac.com. This week, we are evidently giving away a super versatile folding origami iPad case made by SwitchEasy. SwitchEasy, the makers of a lot of iPhone and iPad accessories. I think previously we talked about their. I have their little MagSafe stand that just props your iPhone up on a table. I use that all the time. It gets passed around into basically every room in their house. SwitchEasy makes excellent products. The origami protective case is a cleverly designed iPad case that can be folded into a special stand for typing or reading. Unlike the Apple, smart connector, I don't know what it's called. Like
Smart Folio?
Apple has a variety of cases, and they're beautiful and they do very well at what they do. But what they don't do is do a very good job of protecting your iPad. Whereas this case from SwitchEasy, not only is it a magnet cover stand over the screen, but it is also a full case that wraps around the back and the corners, and it'll provide a bare modicum of drop protection, which can't be said for Apple's cases. The magnetic bi-directional front flap bends forwards or backwards
to
create
thing looks great. Sorry, go
four
ahead.
different stands for different uses.
Yeah. I see
The
why they
two-way
call it the
magnetic
origami.
flap. Yeah, it locks into a folio to the back of the iPad when open and locks it when it's closed. It automatically wakes up the iPad, and it has a hidden Apple Pencil holder on the magnetic flap that'll place it in and wirelessly charge it as well.
Nice.
So I don't know how many we're giving away, but there are 4 different ways to enter for a maximum number of 6 entries total. There are 10 days left. There are, very few people have entered. I think this just went up yesterday or something. So get your name in the ring.
Got a chance. That much is for sure. Yeah, and for those of you listening, you can't see the pictures. So this is interesting. So one of the things I don't like about Apple Smart Folio is, and I think you mentioned this, is you could only really bend it so that it props up your iPad in 2 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And with this front cover, you can bend it in all these different ways that let you prop up your iPad in a multitude of different ways. So that's pretty interesting. Huh.
Yeah, maybe you use your iPad in a bunch of different situations. You use it for work, you use it for typing. You have sometimes you connect a Bluetooth keyboard, sometimes you use the on-screen keyboard, sometimes you have it in bed, sitting on your lap or something like that. This is one case that can do all of those things. And just go to the Cult of Mac website, scroll down to the giveaway section, click on it, and enter.
Cool. Look at you, little Lou.
Please don't call me that ever again.
Little Lou Griffin Jones. Oh, man. I don't know what just happened with your picture there, Griffin. I feel like it just went all 3D on me. Do you see that in your...
Maybe you need to go to the doctor.
No, you got a green line atop the... It might just be Skype, to be honest with you. Does it look okay on your side?
I'm not seeing a weird green line.
Okay, so maybe it's just
3D effect.
All right. Yeah, it kind of looks like when you look at something that's built for 3D, but you're not wearing the glasses. There's a little bit of that that ghosting effect happening on your glasses. It's not terrible, but it might just be Skype.
It might be that I had the window open on my. I had a different tab open. Usually my computer is as black as I possibly can, but I was looking at the Cult of Mac website as I was reading from the giveaway page. So you might have seen some reflections in my glasses.
No. Nope, it just stopped. It literally just stopped, and the green line went away. Okay, well,
Interesting.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so that wasn't it, but maybe it was just Skype. All right, well, let's...
Thrilling podcasting.
Let's continue on. Let's talk about rates.
If you're fed up with getting free stuff, well, you can give Apple more money. Apple raises rates for Apple TV Plus and other services by up to 40%. The cost of watching Apple TV Plus series and movies it launched at $4.99. Then I think Last year they raised it to $6.99, and now it is $9.99
Now they're really
for Apple TV
tweaking
Plus
those
after a
nips,
7-day
man.
trial.
Yep.
The price for Apple Arcade, Apple News Plus, and Apple One also increased, but other services like Apple Music and Fitness Plus remain the same. A lot of streaming services have been raising their prices. Netflix, I mean, they're going through a freaking financial crisis. I don't know if Netflix is still going to be around in like
I thought they were
7 years
doing
with how
well now
desperate they
that
are.
they stopped password sharing and keep raising their prices.
Uh, I don't know. I've been hearing more people saying they're dropping Netflix than signing up for Netflix, but
I mean, I haven't had Netflix in like 6 or 7 years. Every time I
yeah,
join it, I'm like, you guys are out of your minds.
I
They
th-
charge like $25 for their premiere. Like to get 4K, you have to pay them like $25 a month, including tax. Like that's kind of
like
high.
I think they just made like the wrong call on a very deep level, in that they're bleeding subscribers. They should have just added an additional plan for like, $25 a month that lets you have multiple families in different households. Then they wouldn't be like dropping so many subscribers because of that reason. But they raise their price. Disney Plus is raising their price. They're now 14 a month. So Apple is still the cheapest streaming service in terms of like ad-free streaming services, because there are a number of ad-supported free ones, but they're slowly raising it. Apple Arcade was $4.99, and now it's $6.99. That's a 40% jump. Apple News Plus went from $10 to $13, a 30% increase. And I think the Apple One subscription was like $32 or $33, and now it's like $37.
Wow.
So incrementally
Yeah.
raising up there.
Everyone's jacking them up, man. Yeah, all the subscriptions are going way up. I mean, that's
Apple's
just across the board.
justification was that, well, Apple TV Plus didn't have that much content when it launched. And, we're continuing to add new content all the time. Like, I'm looking forward to For All Mankind season 4 coming out in like just a couple weeks. So that kind of makes sense. I can see the argument. Apple Arcade, sure. Apple News Plus,
Dude, I
it's
thought that was
it's not like
DOA. I
it's not
thought it
like
was
there's more
dead.
news. I mean, they added crossword puzzles, but I don't think that justifies a 30% price increase. I mean, I'm actually one of the few happy readers of Apple News, but I
Really?
just think it's kind of weird.
Huh.
But
Okay. Well, yeah, I thought that it was going to die in the near future. I was like, who uses Apple News? I know that Lewis does. I didn't know that you did, but I don't know very many people that even know what Apple News is.
it took me a long time to like it, because it's an algorithmically driven, news service, and it took a long time for it to sort of like train on my preferences of what news I like to read. Like, I went through a period where I would just like open it once, scroll really far down, not tap into any articles, and then just close the app again, hoping that it would like learn. I don't care about any of what you're showing me.
Yeah, you got to spend time training it, don't you? I don't use Apple News, but I tried to train it for a while, and I basically gave up on that anyway. But I actually think this is kind of a mistake for Apple. Like, they had a unique opportunity here that they just bungled.
Hmm.
So everyone's raising their, at least for streaming, everyone's raising their prices. Netflix is raising their prices. Disney Plus is going insane. I was just looking through my billing. I paid $79.99 for a year of Disney Plus last November. Okay, and that was for
Hmm.
ad free everything. Now that same plan is $139.99. I mean, they're almost doubling it. And for me, even if you want more money, like you can't raise your prices that fast, that much. You're gonna just piss people off. Like, you gotta do it more slowly. And so I'm actually gonna quit Disney Plus because I'm not actually. I love their back catalog more than I love their new catalog. And when I first started Disney Plus, I paid, I think, $69.99 for 2 or 3 years. I think, like, that's how cheap it was, and they've just been slowly raising it, and now they're just, I mean, they've lifted the cap and they're smacking the red button. Like, it's outrageous how much they are trying to lift it. And I think a lot of people are kind of becoming disgruntled with how expensive all these streaming services are. And they all have the same strategy, right? So they start off low. In fact, Apple's strategy was genius. They basically gave it away for free for a year and a half. If you bought any Apple devices, they're like, here, have a year of Apple TV Plus. And then they started off very low. That's like, well, it's not really worth it, but it's $4 a month. It's like, whatever. And then it's like, oh, well, $6.99 a month. It's like, oh, it's not that much. It's worth it. But $9.99 a month, like, is there a catalog worth $9.99 a month? I personally don't think so. And I don't really want to subscribe to Apple One. I don't want to be paying Apple $40+ a month for a bunch of stuff that I probably won't use. So I think it would have been smarter for them to look around and say, look, everyone's raising their prices. And instead of taking this as an opportunity to bump our price, because that's essentially what they're doing. Is they're looking around, they're saying, oh, well, Disney Plus, Netflix, they're raising their prices. So by comparison, we still look low. But I think what they should have done is kept their price the same and welcomed all the people who were fleeing those services into their ranks. They're trying their best to grow their service. And instead of trying to, tweak our nips and pull out every penny that they can, you can borrow that phrase if you want. Use it with your friends. I think it would have been smarter to just keep their price the same and welcome in all the disgruntled people who are running away from these expensive plans. Because unlike, well, I guess maybe not Disney, but unlike Netflix, unlike HBO, I'm not sure if Paramount does this, but they own all their own content, right? So they could probably, I imagine because you own your own content, you have less licensing fees because you're paying to produce it all. I know Netflix does that too. But anyway, so I guess I would ask the chat, man, like, what do you guys think? $9.99 a month for Apple TV Plus? Does that seem worth it to you? Because that seems like it's too much to me. What do you think, Griffin?
How many Apple TV Plus shows have you watched? Because I watched a lot of Apple TV Plus shows in the last few years. I mean, just off the top of my head, For All Mankind is maybe one of my favorite shows on TV right now.
I can't believe it, dude.
Ted Lasso is a fantastic show that you should watch. There's right after I watched Ted Lasso with my wife and I, we watched Schmigadoon, which just segues really, really well after that. It's a good palate cleanser after that. There's Trying, which is a great show. There's Slow Horses. I got really into season 1 of Slow Horses. I haven't like really gotten into season 2 yet, but there's a season 3 coming out of that. I think they've got a lot of good stuff if you have the right taste, because again, they don't have as much content as the other stuff. So I feel like if your tastes align with Apple's, then they've got like so many different shows for you to watch. Whereas I can only think of like a couple shows that I would want to watch on Paramount. Like, I would basically treat Paramount as like the Star Trek streaming network.
Yeah, Paramount actually has a really amazing back catalog. They've been around forever. And if you like Westerns, they've got like every Western that was ever made. I mean, they have content from like 1920 on there that they have digitized, but that's pretty cool. But yeah, Paramount, yeah, man, their new stuff, I could do a whole episode just on that. I won't. I've watched a few Apple TV Plus shows, and some of them have been very good. I watched Severance, which was incredible. Probably one of my favorite shows of the year. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other shows. I've been trying to watch. Oh, what's the name of that series?
A lot of people are raving about. Oh yeah.
Which I'm not sure if I like. It started off strong, and then it became very weird and contrived. There actually was a really great documentary on Apple TV Plus about Carlos Ghosn, the ex-CEO of Nissan Renault. And that guy's an interesting character. And if you haven't watched it yet, I made it to episode 3. Unfortunately, my trial ran out before I made it to episode 4. But it was one of the best things that I saw on Apple TV. Riveting content. And if you don't know anything about him, I guess the premise is he was kind of a wizard of a CEO. Like, he would come into situations where companies were failing and completely turn them around. He did it with Renault, the car company. And then he got hired by Nissan. And he did it with Nissan, right? Completely turned the company around, saved them from bankruptcy. And then when he did that, he became like this larger-than-life hero. But the the there started to be rumors that he was going to try and merge Nissan and Renault together, which is something that he promised he would never do, and it's something that the executives at Nissan didn't want him to do. They didn't want to combine with Renault. And then he started getting accused of like these crimes by Nissan. And so there's this big investigation. He gets put in prison in Japan. He can't get out. And it talks a lot about like what prison is like in Japan, what the legal system is like in Japan. It's very different from ours. And what you don't know is like, is this guy a criminal, or did he get framed by the executives at Nissan because they didn't want him to merge these two companies? And it's a fascinating documentary, and unfortunately, I can't tell you how it ends. Not that I wouldn't spoil it for you, because I didn't see it, because my trial is up. But aside from that, there's not a lot of content that really gripped me on Apple TV Plus. And maybe I just need to actually just try it out and see how it works. But the one show that I did try was For All Mankind. And I watched probably 3 episodes, and I was like, this is one of the most horrendously boring shows I've ever seen in my entire life. I keep hearing that it got better. I don't know how long that took, but you are a trooper to...
I'll say if you don't like it by episode 3, it's probably just not for you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think episode 3 of season 1 is like where it went from like good to great. Like, I want to keep watching this,
Okay, well, the fact that
if
you
you
even
don't
thought
like
it
it by
was
episode
good,
3,
I mean, because I never even got there. I was like, I don't even know what the purpose of this show is. Like, nothing happens. No one does anything. It's not memorable in any way, but I always hear people say that they love that show, and it makes me want to watch it again just for that purpose.
I will say that when I rewatched it, I picked up on so much more happening than I thought on the first watch. In the first watch, I would think, as the credits rolled, oh, well, that was kind of a filler episode. But then when I rewatched season 1 and season 2, I was like, I don't know how I ever thought that. This show is jam packed. So much is going on. Like, you just have to. I think it's just a show that you have to pay really close attention to, and keep track of all the characters, which is kind of hard on the first watch because it has a lot of characters.
Well, after I lose access to Disney Plus, I'm going to be down to just Paramount Plus and HBO Max. Or I guess Max. Those would be the last two. I don't know. I wouldn't be completely opposed to paying $10 a month for Apple TV Plus, but I wouldn't keep it every month because I do feel like it might be too expensive. So anyway, TC's going for those nips. He wants every last dollar he can squeeze out of you. Apple's trying to raise revenues across the board. They're going to be doing it with hardware. They're trying to get you to buy more. They're pretty much going to force me against my will to buy a new MacBook Pro here at the end of the year. And then they're also going to be doing it in all of your software services as well. Let's see here. Gern Blanson, how about a 10% increase? 30% is huge. Yeah, I think that would have been a much better strategy in my opinion. But, I mean, especially Disney Plus, man, like a 40% raise in price, that is bonkers. I mean, I know Mickey demands those profits, but you got to do it in a way that's not going to drive away your core audience. Streamline, you have like $1 million in Apple stock. Have you looked at Apple stock price? It's not $1 million anymore. All right. I think that's it, man. We've been streaming for like 18 hours. I know we still have to do predictions. Is that the last segment we have here?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to talk about. There's a new iOS 17 beta, 17.2. It has the journaling app.
I know.
There, that's the last story. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. All right. Let's move into predictions then. These are our. I mean, I know we talked about predictions, but these are carved into stone. We'll make our predictions here, and then we will revisit this next week to see who got what right. And maybe we should have done this first, because through the power of my intellect, I've already convinced you of all the things that are probably going to happen next week anyway. And so now you're going to just choose all the things that I'm choosing. But let's go ahead and do the segment anyway. So Let me bring up D. Griffin Jones' website, and we will hop into this, and we'll go through these predictions one by one.
While you're doing that,
yeah,
I'll clarify. Lewis isn't here, but he sent me his predictions, and I already have them filled in here.
Oh, nice.
If you forgot how this works, I have a set list of rumors that we're all going to vote on, yes or no, whether we think it'll happen. 1 point will be awarded for each correct guess. Any disputes in judgment must be ruled on by Leander Canny, a responsibility he has, again, not been informed of, and much less agreed to. I still don't think he knows that this is a responsibility he has, but it has not called upon yet. So we're going to start with an iMac round.
Get
iMac. Well, this is a little less certain when I wrote these. I'm at like 2 days ago, like a fool. iMac updated with M3.
I'm gonna go yes.
Lewis says yes. I say yes.
Okay.
24-inch iMac comes with base chip and Pro chip.
I'm gonna say yes.
Lewis says no. I am also going to be bold and say yes.
Okay.
32-inch iMac introduced with Max chip and Ultra chip.
Gonna go with no on this one.
Lewis says no. I say no as well. iMac loses a few colors.
I don't even know what colors exist now.
They have all 6 colors in silver.
Well, are they gonna lose a few colors? No, it won't be. A few is 3, right? I mean, is it a few? Technically 3.
I would if they drop 1 or 2 colors, I would still give you the point if you say yes.
Well, let's look at the colors here.
It's all 6 colors: red, orange, yellow, blue, green, purple, and silver. So that's 7 different SKUs they have to offer for every single configuration. And
well,
I think
what if they swap colors? If they change colors? I mean, that's what I think is more likely. They're going to just offer a new color palette.
Yeah, the colors might get darker or grayer or something.
So
but
I'm
you
going
think
to say
still,
yes.
You think they're still going to come in all 7?
Oh, do you mean there's going to be fewer color choices?
Yes, that's how I wrote it. But I guess you can interpret it however you want.
I think that we'll still have the same amount of colors, but they'll be different colors. So what should my vote be?
As written, it does say loses. So I'll say no then.
Okay.
I'll put myself down as no as well.
Shout out to Reagan, who has never joined us live before. Oh man, this is when you joined. You'll never be back. My apologies.
What are you talking about? This is the most exciting.
The start of the show
segment we ever do.
was a lot more exciting. All right, but that's all right. Hang tight because the votes are coming in. This is the part that will make you want to come back next week, hopefully. Okay.
Let's move on to the MacBook segment.
Okay.
13-inch and 15-inch MacBook Air updated with M3 chip.
Not a chance.
No. Lewis says no. I say no as well. 13-inch MacBook Pro adds MagSafe, drops Touch Bar.
That would require TC to lose profit margin. I'm going no.
Now, I think when they do update that model, it will drop the Touch Bar and add MagSafe. But I think you convinced me that that's not coming on Monday, so I'm going to put myself as no. Lewis is no as well. 13-inch MacBook Pro gets M3 Pro chip and a higher price.
13-inch MacBook Pro gets M3 Pro chip and higher price. That's an interesting. That's an interesting scenario.
So this is another theory I have. I think when they update that computer and when they give it a bit of a subtle redesign, they're going to shift it up market a little bit to sort of bridge the gap, because now they have a 15-inch MacBook Air as well. I think they're going to shift that computer up market a bit to bridge the gap between the 15-inch MacBook Air and the base MacBook Pro.
I think that's some good analyzing there, and I could actually see that happening, but I don't think it's going to happen on Monday.
Exactly. I would have said no a few hours ago, but we're all no on that. 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro updated with M3 Pro and M3 Max.
I'm going to go yes on this one.
Lewis says yes. I'm also yes. 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro come with new display technology.
I want to say yes, but I have to say no.
Lewis says yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm also going to say no. I think this is just going to be a drop-in upgrade.
Yeah, I think the fact the way that this event is coming together at the last minute with very little warning, I think implies that Apple is doing something that they weren't necessarily planning to do yet, And the fact that there is no in-person element to this leads me to believe that though this will be a significant spec bump, I think we're looking at spec bumps across the board to refresh it before they get those juicy, sweet holiday dollars.
Let's move on to the other hardware section. AirPods Max updated with USB-C and lossless audio.
Lewis, let me get you my Johnny Ive design clown nose.
So again, I didn't write these that long ago. I wrote these right after the invitations went out. But yet the news is just happening so fast that you and I now know in like the tiny amount of difference that AirPods Max aren't coming until next year. So I'm going to assume you're putting yourself down as a no. I'm also going to vote no. Lewis voted yes because I am sure like that news came out while he was asleep in Italy, and I guess he just didn't read all the way to the bottom of that story.
Who knows if he's even following the news while he's out there and drinking wine and dancing shirtless on the beach in his Speedo and gold chain.
I mean, what else would you do?
That's right.
What could possibly be better than reading cultofmac.com? Magic Keyboard, mouse, and trackpad all updated with USB-C.
I'm affirmative on this.
Yes. Lewis says yes. I'm yes as well.
Do you and I have the exact same votes so far? Is this your new strategy? Because I won last week or last time.
Do we have the same vote so far? I think we do. That's not intentional.
I'm sure it's not. All right.
Look, the last section is where it gets more speculation and fun. We might differentiate there. I'm really excited to get a new trackpad because as I've talked about before, I have the original.
Oh my!
The original trackpad that takes AA batteries. The top of it is cracked along the side.
I see that.
I'm almost running out of AA batteries, and I hope I don't have to buy any more because I think this is the only battery operated device in my house.
Because rechargeables, I guess if it's the only battery operated device.
Yeah.
I spend like $300 in rechargeable batteries at IKEA every year.
Okay. Any new iPad is released.
I'm not even going to justify this with an answer. You already know what I'm thinking. Just put it down.
No. 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 Update on Vision Pro.
Oh my! Here we go again. The update. What does this mean? Does this mean they're going to mention it?
I think I'm going to define this as new information.
No.
No.
In fact, I would go as far to say is I don't even think they're going to mention Vision Pro.
Okay. I'm going to say yes. There we go. We have a different vote now. Are you happy?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're now close enough that they give it an official launch date.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll stick with my guns.
Okay.
You can have that one.
Here's the most fun section, the miscellaneous section, because again, like I feel like we already know like the hardware that we're coming. I'd be surprised if we were surprised. This is all speculation. So this is the fun part.
Okay.
A redesigned Apple TV app is shown.
No.
This is a story we didn't have time to talk about because nobody cares about the Apple TV, but supposedly they have a redesign coming that'll change it up a bit coming by the end of the year. Lewis said yes. I'm going to put myself as yes too.
Okay.
Because last time I got burned for voting against the Apple TV.
I just think this is so clearly a Mac event. It's going to be short, sweet. Here's what is coming out. They're going to keep the attention on the Macs. They want you to know that they're coming out. They're going to be updated, and they want your money for holidays. They're not going to dilute that message. I should not have said all that.
That's a pretty good point.
But I could be wrong. And how delicious would that point be if I was?
That's true. I don't know. Do I play a risky game or do I try and play it safe?
I could see it going
yes.
your way. Even with the Vision Pro, man, because like, do they ever keep things that on point? Not usually. You know, like they don't keep things that succinct. Like they'll have like the main topic and then like a couple sprinkles of things that they want to add in. So I feel like I'm taking the risk on this one. But you do what you want.
All right, I'll leave it easy. Yes.
Okay.
Presentations outside are all filmed at night.
Presentations outside. So like that implies that the night
As in,
filming.
whenever somebody is talking, because I wouldn't be surprised if like part of the intro video where like they have the aerial shot of Apple Park, like it starts with like sunset or something and then it changes to night. But I call it that because like anytime somebody is talking or like presenting to the camera, I think it'll be dark outside.
That assumes a couple of things. A, that they didn't have this presentation recorded at some point and are now just releasing it. And B, that they're going to ham it up that they're actually doing a night thing, which I think they should do. I just don't know. I'm gonna go yes.
Lewis says yes. I'm also going to go yes. Because already, like during the iPhone events, like they do the iPhone, like they introduce the regular iPhone when it's light outside, and then it just suddenly changes to night when they're talking about the Pro iPhones. And I think they'll go all in onto it. Here's the fun one: at least one presenter is wearing a Halloween costume.
I'm going yes on this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, this is a huge miss for TC. I hope it's TC. I don't think it will be TC. I think if anyone would do it, it would be Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Dressed up as Dracula. That's my specific prediction.
I don't know if Craig likes being dressed up, but they certainly
But he'll do what
dress
he's
him
told.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apple TV Plus sizzle reel.
No. There will be no sizzle.
Lewis says yes. I'm also going to say no.
Okay.
A new Mac is 100% carbon neutral.
Oh, golly gee willikers. Son of a gun. That would align with their recent all animals must live line of reasoning. I'm going to say no.
Really?
Yeah.
Lewis says yes. I'm going to say yes as well.
I think that's a good guess. I don't think they're ready.
It is a very different sort of supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see it going either way. Some products are available to order the same day.
Yes.
Lewis said yes. I'm going yes as well. It like legitimately caught me off guard. I didn't know that the Apple Watch Series 9 was available to order. And I was like scared because I realized like 2 hours later, I was like, oh no, did I miss the launch day window? Like I had to frantically text my wife and ask her what she wanted because she was getting the watch. So I assumed it was coming out on Friday. Last prediction. The event runs over 65 minutes.
I mean, this is just an absolute guess.
How much do you think they really have?
I think it's going to be short. So I'm going to say no. Where did all the predictions that I tossed in? Where did all those go?
I'm going to say no. You get virtually the same predictions as I already had in
Did
here.
I? Yeah. What about my they'll release a orange edition Scary Fast Mac?
That didn't seem like a very serious prediction.
Well, it would have been if Lewis was here. I like to throw one in that will really get him thinking, like he's like, "Wait a second." And he really gives it a lot of thought. I thought that was a pretty good one.
What do you envision that being?
An iMac. Orange
an
edition.
orange edition. They already sell an orange one.
They do?
Yeah.
Well, then I get a point. All right.
Sure.
Well, look. I didn't even realize that. See, so I technically was right. All right. I'm losing my voice. I've been holding back the coughs for like an hour, and I apologize to all of you who had to hear some of them slip through, but I'm still on my way to to healing. But I think we should go ahead and wrap it up there because we've been live for like 17 and a half hours. I'm out of water too, which is not a good sign. So hope you guys enjoyed those predictions. We'll, of course, be back next week to figure out who wins. This one could go either way. I really don't know. This is going to be an interesting one to see where we land because this is unprecedented. This event and anything that's going to happen is just not something that we can fully understand and expect until we get to it. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. Of course, if you want to bounce your theories off us, let us know what you think about the upcoming event. Well, I'm on Twitter at Airfon ERF win. You can also just go to D. Griffin Jones on Mastodon. A few of you are on there. Go hang out with D. Griffin Jones. He's on there. He's mastodoning. Tooting?
Sure.
I can't remember.
That's what some people call it. Yeah.
Well, thank everyone for listening, for hanging out live. This has been the CultCast. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next time. That's all I can muster. About 5 minutes away from losing all use of my voice box. All right, all. I'm hurtling towards the end stream button as we speak. I hope we see Tim Cook dressed up as a Pokemon. Bye. Wouldn't that be incredible?